Hi, this is Desiree, with one of the Women Who Code New York City directors. I'm really excited to have our guest speaker, Hoa Newton, do the event Everything You've Ever Wanted is Sitting on the Other Side of Fear. Lean into fear to unlock your potential in the tech world. Hoa, it's all you.
Thank you, Desiree. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today in this talk about fear with the title, Everything You've Ever Wanted is Sitting on the Other Side of Fear. Lean into fear to unlock your potential in the tech world. There you go. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Hoa Newton. I'm a mother of two. I was born and grew up in a rural area of Vietnam. Electricity came to my village when I was about 6 years old, and computers and running water came when I was in my 20s. I studied English in Vietnam and met my now husband, then relocated to New York City in 2010. In 2014, when my daughter was 1 year old, I got my first tech job after graduating from a 12 weeks coding bootcamp. And fast forward 9 years later, I'm currently working at Cisco Meraki as an engineering manager. And a disclaimer, opinions shared in this talk are my own and do not represent Cisco. Before I begin, I would like to tell you a short story about fear in my professional life. It was during a job interview that I experienced a crippling, overwhelming sense of fear. It was in 2016 when the startup I was working at was closing down. I had no choice but to seek a new job. At that point, I had around 2 years of experience as a web developer, and not exactly a seasoned pro by any means. During that first 2 years in the field, I was also juggling between a new tech job and raising a toddler, raising a family. I did not work past 5 p.m., nor did I have time to self-train or attend hackathons over the weekends. To add to the complexity of the situation, I was 4 months pregnant with my son. Having to switch jobs when you are pregnant is one of the worst times. And in my own perceptions, few companies want to hire a pregnant employee, fearing that she may just go on maternity leave right after onboarding, and to have to accommodate a nursing schedule afterward when she comes back. So I came into this situation with a lot of fear and self-doubt. My technical skills felt very rusty. My mind was occupied with self-conscious thoughts about my pregnancy, yet I needed a new job. And by my calculations, each job applications took at least 6 weeks to result in an offer. And by then, I would be showing a huge baby bump. Time was running out. Walking into that interview room, I was sweating before any question was asked. My hands and legs were shaking. I couldn't think straight. My ears were just ringing and I couldn't hear the questions very well. I was paralyzed. I couldn't even build a simple tic-tac-toe. I couldn't even make a spec file to run. It was a complete disaster. And no surprise, I catastrophically bombed that interview. That day, the crippling impact of fear on my performance was painfully evident, and it remains one of the most humbling and challenging experience in my professional career. So how does that resonate with you? Like me, have you ever frozen an interview or stayed at a job for too long after you already grown sick of because you were afraid of change? You're afraid of the interview process, or you may be afraid of failing it. Have you ever been afraid that you are falling behind with all the latest technologies? Have you ever felt like you are not doing enough and everyone else is doing so much better than you? I would love to hear and learn from your experience. So if you could leave your thoughts and comments in the chat, I would greatly appreciate that. For the first years of my career, I constantly struggled to stay afloat. I stressed out during the week at work, feeling like I should have done so much more. And on weekends, I had a very long list of topics and articles to catch up onto, and I had no time for any of that. My mind was constantly racing to the next thing I had to do at work, while I was cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, doing laundry, tending my kids, you name it. I felt the ever-growing gap between how much I know and how much I should know. I was stressed, I was short patient, and I was hitting my limits. This cannot go on for much longer. And even when I was very stressed, I wasn't ready to give up quite yet. So I started to think about what can I change about my day or about my mentality to make this more sustainable. And I discovered fear. And they are holding me back. They make me chase someone else's dream. They make me try to fit myself in others' mold. They make me raise others. And they block me from knowing what I want and what I am good at. Knowing that, I started to wonder, I know very well how fear feels like, but what could it possibly be on the other side of fear? And if fear no longer drive, then what will? And where would this path lead me? And with that, I started my journey of leaning into fear to discover what else is possible. And I'm inviting you to join me in this journey, to lean in, to be curious, to be friends with fear, and to discover what is on the other side of fear. So let's take the very first step into understanding fear. Where is fear? First of all, everyone has it. It's in individuals, it's in teams, it's in organizations, and it's even in nations. It's very easy to look at the superstars, the high performers, and think that they have it all figured out. But often, we compare people's outside with our insides. Only when I had the courage to talk to those superstars in my team did I realize that they have the same insecurities that I have. They also feel lost very often. They are afraid that they are not meeting expectations. They also experience imposter syndrome. And all the things they do that look from the outside very effortlessly aren't always easy for them after all. And fear is everywhere. It spreads out in every aspect of our lives. It's encoded in our behavior, woven in our daily interactions, and impacting our relationships. It influences our decisions, or perhaps our hesitations. And for software developers, we are often afraid of failures. We may avoid complex projects with the tight deadlines because we are afraid that we are not able to deliver it on time or meet the quality or security standards. We are afraid of being obsolete or falling behind. We're afraid of making mistakes, saying the wrong things at the wrong time, making the wrong decisions, or introducing bugs. We're afraid of technical challenges, solving complex technical problems or facing unknown challenges. A lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome. We constantly doubt our skills, thinking we're not good enough, comparing ourselves to others, thinking that we are a fraud to be found out one day. Fear feels very much like danger. It triggers the part of our brains that tell us that we are not okay, that something is wrong with us, or something bad is about to happen. It is that dreadful feeling that we would naturally just do anything to get out of as quickly as we can. And when we are fearful, we often run away. We try to hide from it. We sweep it under the rug, pretend it didn't happen, and try to forget about it. We also have the tendency to blame. We blame other people, or we blame circumstances for how things don't work out the way we want them to. And lastly, we blame ourselves for being flawed, being stupid, or not trying hard enough. Fear festers in the dark. The more it is kept a secret, the worse it gets. The only thing that is worse than being fearful is being fearful alone. So how do we bring fear to the light? We must first learn to recognize it. And these are some signs of fear. Avoidance. Fear often prompts us to avoid situations or challenges. This might include steering clear of a difficult coworker, shying away from public speaking, or trying to solve intricate technical issues like memory leaks. Procrastination is the art of last-minute tasks, like how I completely just finished this presentation maybe half an hour ago. When we have psychological reactions, fear can manifest as stress and anxiety, feeling of being overwhelmed or out of control, shame, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or difficulty focusing. It also shows in physical reactions. Fear's grip can lead to symptoms such as sweating, lightheadedness, choking sensations, pounding heart, cold, hot flushes, shortness of breath, trembling muscles, fatigue, and low energy, and denial. Sometimes we sweep things under the rug. We try to hide our mistakes. We water things down, or pretend that they never happened. So now that we can identify fear, the next step is to lean in and be curious. Be curious about exactly what you're afraid of. Explore to understand. And we may find that it's about a negative self-image, self-worthiness, competency, expectations, or the need to belong. And our internal monologue may sound like this. I'm a bad person. I don't deserve. I'm not good enough. I'm an idiot. Or I don't belong. And where do our inner voice come from? It's the primary human needs to feel safe. And this need creates our desire to belong, to be accepted, to be liked or loved. And the desire to belong leads to other desires, such as the desires to prove ourselves, to prove our worth, to contribute value. The desires to meet expectations that others have for us, or so we think they have for us. And also to meet the expectations that we have for ourselves. And the desire to be a good person. So with that, where do we even start? We must start with building our inner strength. Sending that brain of yours to the gym. First of all, be brave and face it. Stop running away from the discomfort, acknowledge it, and sit with that feeling for a bit. This is a practice of mindfulness to cultivate awareness and be present with your feeling at the moment, even though it is painful. Your inner monologue could sound like this. I'm experiencing so much anxiety about this big project I have to deliver in 2 weeks, and I'm worried that I'm not gonna get it done on time. Then ask yourself, can I sit with this feeling for a while? And the answer to that may be yes or maybe no, but acknowledge that in this moment, you're safe, you're okay, and experiencing anxiety during high-stake projects is normal. It's also very important to not tell ourselves or believe in negative narratives such as, there is no way I'm gonna be able to deliver this project on time. The business is gonna lose contracts and I'm gonna be fired. Please just quickly hit that unsubscribed button. Be brave, step out outside of our comfort zone. Go ahead and do the things that you're terrified of doing and just do it. For me, it is the very act of giving this talk in front of you right now. I remember the first time I had to give a mandatory deaf learning session in front of a very small tech team. I was trembling. My hands were shaking, my head and face were on fire. My throat choked up and it was horrible. It was completely a disaster. I thought I would do anything to never have to speak in front of others again. Yet, here I am today, still terrified of making a fool out of myself in public. I volunteered to do it anyway. And regardless of what happens today, I will do it again. Because as much as I still am afraid of how I am perceived, it is already a win for me to practice courage, to step out of my comfort zone, because often obstacle is the way. Be brave, be authentic, and be yourself. Practice by saying what you think, such as, I disagree, here are my thoughts, but that doesn't really make sense. I didn't understand that. Could you walk me through? And saying no. It takes extreme courage to show up as yourself, especially when you think you're not good enough. I kept silence in meetings and team discussions for years. I pretended that I understood everything that was going on and only spoke up when I was called or it's my turn. I was afraid that the more I speak up, the more people would find out how stupid I am. And then they would have really low opinion of me. They would not trust me anymore. And the best, I would be very sad. The worst, I would be fired. But the more I kept silence, the further away I drifted from reality. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't learning. I wasn't growing. And I wasn't going anywhere. And one day I knew I could no longer afford to keep doing it. And also, here's my favorite quote. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Be brave, be vulnerable. Vulnerability is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes a great amount of courage to say, I don't know, to your peers or to your boss. And reach out to people to ask for help. No need to pretend that you always have it together. Share some of your struggles, such as, I'm struggling to understand this piece of code. Or, I don't really know how to solve that, but here are my thoughts. Start by opening up to your trusted circle where you feel the safest, then practice with more people as time goes on. I started to open up to be vulnerable with only a couple of very trusted coworkers. They helped me feel safe, feel understood, and sharing my thoughts and struggles helped me to be even closer with them than ever before. And then I started to enable that safe environment for others to be vulnerable with me. and on my circle grew. Embrace imperfection. So you shipped that feature and you caused a few bugs. You gave that presentation and it was like, meh. That complex problem, that complex solution that you put together could have been so much better. And so what? It's all okay. I was not ready when I took the engineering manager role at my previous job. I am an extreme introvert who is completely fine spending 3 months straight by myself. I never could imagine taking on a role that the main responsibility is to work with people. And to be completely honest, I was struggling to grow myself as an engineer. So how could I possibly mentor, coach, or help other people grow in their career? I took the role being about 20, that's very generous, 20% ready. I made mistakes. I was absolutely clueless about how to manage people and manage a team for at least 6 months. It could be so much longer, but I'm just gonna take 6 months. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. And later on, I found out that this role is where I wanna be. This is what I wanna do. And this is what I'm good at. Had I never tried, I would never have known. So better to do something imperfectly than to do nothing perfectly. It's also very important to practice self-compassion. Be gentle with ourselves. Give ourselves the permission to try and fail. The outcome of what we do doesn't define who we are. I failed running that small business does not mean I am a failure. And by the way, I completely failed running a small business a few years back. Treat yourself as how you would treat your best friends. Ask yourself, if your best friends make a mistake, would you tell them all the same thing you're telling yourself? Such as, you are such an idiot. You can never get anything right. Remember, we deserve the same chance to make mistakes as everybody else. As a first-generation immigrant, a minority woman without tech background, working in this crazily fast-paced, innovative industry, it is a conscious choice for me to practice self-compassion. I have to remember to give myself the permission to feel okay when I didn't know something, such as a classic rock song that everybody else know, or when I didn't know some basic computer science concept. All I wanted to do is to retreat, thinking that I'm not cut out for this. But then I remember when people were going to undergraduate school or graduate school for computer science, I probably hadn't even seen a computer or had running water yet. So instead of seeing the gap that I need to fill, I see how far I've come, and be proud and believe in my ability to learn and improve moving forward. Cultivate a growth mindset. Just a very brief recap for people who haven't read the book Mindset. Growth and fixed mindset are concepts developed by psychologist Carol Dweck, reflect in her book Mindset. People with fixed mindset believe that their ability and intelligence are fixed traits and cannot be changed. Growth mindset is a belief that one's abilities, intelligence, and personal qualities can be developed and improved over time through effort, learning, and perseverance. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to read this book. And what growth mindset have to do with fear? It defines success as success is earned. Success is attributed to hard work, effective strategies, and learning from failures. rather than innate talent. Therefore, it changes the meaning of failure. Failure is a natural part of the learning process, a stepping stone to eventual success, a crucial element for growth. It no longer sounds like something we should be afraid of. Besides practicing and building our inner strength, we also need a support system to lean on. And to build a support system, first we need to build trust with others. And trust is important because it's a fundamental foundation for psychological safety. We already talked about vulnerability and authenticity. These two help break down the barriers that separate us from others. It allows us to drop the mask that we wear to be our true, authentic selves, and promoting genuine interactions and relationships. We also need to be reliable. Deliver what you promised at the time you promised it. Be accountable. Take responsibilities and extreme ownership of your work. Be empathetic by practice active listening. Listen to understand and not to respond. Not to just words, but to people's emotions and tones. Avoid interrupting and put yourself in their shoes. Avoid judgment. Suspend judgment and avoid making assumptions about someone's experiences or feelings. Keep an open mind and be willing to accept their perspective, even if it differs from your own. And have genuine curiosity. Be genuinely curious about others. Show interest in their stories, their experience, and backgrounds. Encourage the person to share more about their thoughts and feelings by asking open-ended questions, such as, "Can you tell me more about that?" And this could lead to deeper conversations. Build our support network. And here are the people that could be in our support network: coworkers, fellow developers, product managers, scrum masters, and designers. Mentors at work and outside of work, senior devs, managers on a different team, or like this group, or other meetup group, or reach out to people on LinkedIn. Friends and family, they are always around. Lean on them, get their help. A sounding board. So these are the people who have the same role as we do in the same industry. So be in contact with them to share experience and bounce off idea or ask for advice. And lastly, manager or skip manager. It's not always possible, but try to get your manager to be your advocate. Help them understand your work and contribution. Try to make your manager's life easier by taking tasks off his or her plate whenever you can. Be close with them. Ask them for what you need to perform your work well. We also need to develop resilience. Be friends with fear is certainly a difficult and painful marathon. And when a marathon is ahead of us, we train. Take a small step toward growth and liberty. Try something new, celebrate small wins, and try something bigger next time and celebrate. Rinse and repeat. If you fail, don't beat yourself up. Try to find out why it didn't work. Lean on your support system and try again. I started my mental marathon by accepting my imperfection. I wasn't the best technologist in my team, and I may not ever be. And that's okay. That acceptance gave me the strength to show up more as myself. I was able to admit things I didn't know. I was able to say, I missed the use case and I introduced that bug. Or I don't understand that this line of code, what it does. Can you explain to me? And for the first time, I was able to say, I don't know how to solve this, and I would love to get your help. I reach out to people in my support network, my coworkers and friends, countless times for help. And they are always there for me as I would for them. I started mentoring new engineers, even though I believe their technical ability is way better than mine. And for the first time, I took on a big project, leading a team to build a huge feature. And on my marathon training went. So what is on the other side of fear? You may wonder if my journey has ever gotten me to the other side of fear yet. I would say, well, it is a constant practice, but I certainly have had a glimpse on what it is to be on the other side of fear. The most profound thing I found on the other side of fear is the sense of groundedness. It is a true sense of freedom to be ourselves and not being afraid of how the world may see us, how we may be judged or rejected. And when we are in that headspace, we will find all sorts of things. We will find growth, opportunities, success, confidence, new perspectives, empowerment, meaningful connections, and fulfillment. Being less distracted by fear, I could focus on the things that I am already good at while acknowledging my limitations and be okay with that. Instead of being scared, for the first time, I felt fulfilled, motivated, excited about my work. And I realized that I have a lot to offer. And I'm just jittery with excitement to do harder things and increase scope, learn new skills, getting better at things that I'm already good at. I don't just show up at work to be because I have to. I show up at work because that's where I continuously grow, connect with people, and make bigger impact every day. And to look back to the beginning, 7 years after that dreadful interview, I had another interview. It's still very intimidating all the same, but this time I came in not trying to impress anyone. I was just trying to be present, be myself. I knew I wasn't good at everything. And in fact, there's an overwhelming number of things that I am just clueless. And I was prepared to admit all of them. I also knew what I was very good at, how I could make impact, contribute value to an organization, and things I love doing, and how I love doing those things. And I was very excited to share that in my interview as well. When people ask me open-ended questions, instead of guessing what they want to hear, which is exactly what I was trying to do, at the prior interview, and then give it to them, I genuinely offer my own approach from my past experience and not following any textbook answer. I was authentic, I was myself, and I was glowing. I came out of that interview this time feeling the best I ever felt in my professional career. I was proud, I was happy, I gave my best, and I let go of the outcome. I was not dying to hear about the result this time. And for me, that experience is already a win. Well, compared to the 7 years prior, where I wanted to bury my head deep in the sand or hide on an island where no one could see me for months, I think I've come very far. And I hope my talk today piqued your interest to lean into your own fear, explore it, use it to build your strength, your network, and to unlock your potential, and 5 fulfillments in your work and in your life. Just a very brief recap of what we've been talking about today. To understand fear, we first need to recognize it, then lean in and be curious to understand what it's about. Then we need to build our inner strength by being brave and face it, stepping out of our comfort zone. Be authentic, be yourself, be vulnerable, embrace imperfection, develop self-compassion, and cultivate growth mindset. We also need to build a support system. And first, we start with build trust, and then build our support network. Develop resilience by practice new skill, celebrate, rinse, and repeat. And on the other side of fear is freedom, growth, opportunity, success, confidence, new perspectives, empowerment, meaningful connections, and fulfillment. And here are some of the additional resources, books that greatly influenced my talk today. And there's also a tool from Tim Ferriss called Fear Setting. If you find it difficult to, get started on something, this is gonna be helpful. And in the bottom is my LinkedIn profile. I would love to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Hoa. And before I finish the recording, I just want to say thank you all who are here and those who will be listening in the future. Please feel free to join our Slack if you want to continue this conversation. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording for questions.